chapter's really about some of the terrible things that can happen when we feel deprived of status. I mean, it says, so status is it's a basic human need. It's like food and water, but it's for our psychology. And when we don't have enough status, we get depressed. We even get physically sick. So it's really bad for us when we feel unfairly deprived of status or deprived of status in any way. We get very angry. And you can tell this to the logical extremes, and people who feel humiliated, and when you're humiliated, you've basically lost all your status in your group, in your game, and worse than that, you're kicked out of the game. Basically, people are saying, we just don't want you anywhere near us. That's humiliation. So it's a really extreme kind of acute experience of loss of status. And of course, we all hate being humiliated. It's just it feels dreadful. But when I was looking into the kind of the science of humiliation, it was actually the thing that really convinced me to write a book about this, because I kind of realized how important status was, and that humiliation is associated with the very, very worst of human behavior. So everything from serial killers to spree killers to terrorists to honor killers, even in genocide, has humiliation is a big part of all of that phenomena. And in the book, I write about probably who are the kind of small group of people who are the most dangerous people in the world, and that's men who are kind of grandiose, narcissistic, but humiliated. Because men are much more likely, for evolutionary, for historical reasons, evolutionary reasons, to try and restore their status with violence. That's a much more likely. We're still built for that. I can see you, but men are built for
the chair. It's the chair.
But that but for physical aggression, that's millions of years of evolution. Going back to before we were human, we even used to look different, had bigger heads, much bigger muscles. So men, millions of years, we haven't got the violence out of us. Men, we still do that. So being a man makes you much more dangerous physically to other people, but being grandiose does, being narcissistic does, because when you're narcissistic, you have this basically automatic assumption in your own mind that you deserve high status. You are a high status person. It's detached from actually your behavior in the world. Like most people earn status and understand, I've got to do something good to earn status. I've got to get going. But narcissists are like, no, I am high status. And so when people don't treat them that way, they get very upset. So when you basically humiliate a male narcissist, when you drag them down, for a long period of time, they become extremely dangerous. And there's I tell a few stories in that chapter, one of which is the Unabomber, who was this guy who was, an academic at Harvard, and he signed up to these psychological experiments, but he didn't know that the point of the experiment was to see, was to test kind of harsh interrogation techniques for the CIA. Wow. And so what they did was they got him to write down all his secrets, all his most intimate secrets, all his philosophies and his theories about the world, even things like masturbation and thumb sucking habits. And he wrote, and once they got that, they took him into a room, shone bright lights into his face, put electrodes on him, and basically humiliated him, mocked him, teased him, tore him apart. And this happened every week for years. And his brother in his memoir says that they recognized he changed, that something had gone wrong at Harvard, but he never spoke about it. He never told them about it. And then he became the Unabomber. The UN in Unabomber stands for universities. He started bombing universities, and basically the modern world, so scientists attacked him, humiliated him. So he kind of attacked in response the world that the scientists and the technologists had created. And I also tell the story of Elliot Rodgers, the spree killer, who felt humiliated, by women and became this very dangerous misogynist.
Yeah, of course. Is he the one whose mother was just a total prick to him all his life?
No, that was Ed Kemper. Yeah, he's a serial killer. So yeah, I mean, one of the things all these men have in common, apart from being humiliated, is that they specifically turn and attack the people who they feel humiliated by. So the Unabomber attacked, the scientists, the technologists. Elliot Rodgers attacked women and the jock types he felt humiliated by. And Ed Kemper, the serial killer, his mother, who bullied him, worked at the university and used to tease him, saying that he was so awful and, you know, unpleasant that the pretty co-ed girls at university would never go anywhere near him. And he became the co-ed killer. So he killed his mum and he killed loads of, you know, young women at the university in really gruesome ways. And he was another narcissist. You know, he had near genius level IQ and was very interested in all the media attention he was getting, and, you know, was parading himself in cuffs after he was arrested when it went for arrest stops and stuff. So yeah, they all have this in common.
Yeah, it's so crazy because they're like, even committing the crimes and the heinous crimes that they did, they will have gained status with certain individuals in the world who think that's like quite a cool thing to do. It's like, wow, I want to massacre a load of people. They're my idol. So they probably get loads of letters. So it's probably worked out pretty well for them, unless they got a death penalty, you get loads of letters into jail.
Exactly. So they've taken their humiliation and they've turned it into status, and that's the right way of looking at it. Is that we don't look to the whole world for status. We look to our groups for status.
Yeah.
So, you know, in that kind of subculture of misogynist incels, Elliot Rodgers will be a hero, and they will look up to him. You know, there's even somebody on Twitter. Not Twitter, Instagram, who I found when I was doing my research, and she calls herself Elliot Rodgers Lover or something, and she's this really attractive blonde American who's just obsessed with Elliot Rodgers.